Bing. Yay! This time it let me. I am so sorry. It kept spinning circles and not letting me in. So, boy, it looks really bright today. Let me see. Every time I try turning that off, it looks a little dark. Okay. I will one day get the lighting worked out in this room. But anyway, hello, everybody. How are you? Yes, I tell you what, Halloween has become such a big holiday, and you just can't help but love it. So I hope you got the little notice and that I was going to be running a little late today. And yesterday we had such a fun day. We went to my grandson's first band competition, and they won. They were grand champions. Their band is amazing. And we knew soon as their opening sound, whoa, they've got it. And they did. So we had such fun. So let's see. Let's see who's here real quick, and then I'll finish telling you. So, oh, Mary, that was so sweet for you to give all of those wishes for our Jody. We're going to cross our fingers that she's feeling okay today. So we've got Marcia and Mary. Oh, there is Jody. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I hope you had a good visit yesterday, and I hope the MRI wasn't too difficult for you, sweetheart. I remember when I had the MRI for my cancer, and it was quite a thing, let me tell you. I want this necklace to be right in place. So hold on a second. I'm going to put something on it. I like necklaces, and I even like long ones. But the problem is, if they're too long, then you can't see them. There, ta-da! Oops, turn that over. There we go. So it is so good to see you. Whoops, better bring the whole camera up now. I will get this right. I have to apologize. Mark and I were out till 9 o'clock last night, and that's something we haven't done in ages and ages. And so we went to my grandson's first band competition, and it was great. I was in marching band, so I'm very, very fond of all that. And to me, it's part of fall. It's part of the excitement. And I told Mark that I'm going to want to go to one of his high school football games. And he said, you like football? No, I'm going to see the marching band because they'll do their routine at halftime. So that will be fun. But anyway, but it was so great to see him. He plays saxophone. He marched really well. This is his first year of high school. So it's exciting. And I'm just so proud of him. So anyway, then after that, we went to my daughter's house and had dinner with her and her, I'm going to say this, it sounds so corny, her lovely young man, Danny. And we got to meet him, and he was lovely. What a wonderful young man, and how cute they are together. So that part was really, really nice. We had dinner, and then we came home. I was exhausted, so I didn't get the preparations done for today's show. Sorry about that. But today what we're going to cover is I have 2 new pumpkins I made this morning. That's why I ran late. Well, I say this morning, I didn't fall asleep until 4:30, 4:45. And so I didn't get up until noon. And so everything has been running late, and I do apologize. But I went on site and said, I'm running 15 minutes late. And I tried to put the time on this, hoping that you would get the message, because I value your time and I value your company. You don't know how much it means to spend this time with you every Sunday. So You remember last week? Oh, let me show you real quick. Whoops. Let me see my leaf banner. I love that. Love, love, love it. And I've got some ideas for Christmas. But I just love those 3D leaves. And then I sewed the veining on them. And I think they look wonderful with our mystery quilt. Don't you love that mystery quilt? And there's my self-portrait that had everything on it. But anyway, just thought I would show you. Let me tilt this back up just a touch so you can see that wonderful fall leaf border. Because it's officially fall. I thought it was Thursday night when we got together. Turns out it was Friday, the 22nd. Go figure. I don't know. So my daughter sent me home with some baby aloe veras, and they're so cute. So I haven't grown an aloe vera in quite a while. So I'm going to take very good care of it. And she said, basically what you do is kind of ignore it. Because if you overwater it, it'll just rot. So I'm going to try to be very careful with it. And she gave me some hints on plant propagation. That my science teacher daughter is something else. So, okay, I have so many different things. I have some pumpkins to show you. I have some thoughts about the dolls that we're going to make starting Thursday night in our Art Quilt Thursdays. I have my crocheting that I want to show you. I'm going to be actually finished with this thing probably this week. I can't believe when you follow a pattern, it gets done fast. But, and then the big excitement is what I got off the quilt frame. I worked on it yesterday morning before we went to the band competition. And are you ready? Now, it's not totally finished, and I'll explain that to you. But here, let me show you this. It is the biggest quilt I've ever made. It is a monster quilt, but I worked on this until 3:30 in the morning, and so hopefully you can't see the whole thing because it's just too big, but let me come and show you close up. Oh, this has got some weight to it too. I think Mark is going to be pretty happy. I didn't have room to carry everything down the stairs today, and so I tossed it down the stairs. Well, I know that once I finish putting the binding and everything on, I'm going to take and wash it. So I figured it's okay. But he's like, it was on the floor. I love it. I love that he is so tickled with this quilt. All right. Well, let me bring my light over here. And now, a caveat. This quilt, I would never enter it in a quilt show because it has too many idiosyncrasies. But I think I'm so happy with how it came out. Now, the reason it's not done is because I did too much trimming of seams. I trimmed it too close in places, and they opened up under the stress of being on the long arm. So be careful about that. If you're going to do any trimming to your seams, really bring that stitch length down, but be careful. And also, if the fabric has a more open weave, which is Kona cotton, let me see if I can show you. But it's kind of got a large weave. The problem with that is the larger the weave, the lower the thread count, the easier it is for seams to pull apart. So just kind of remember that and, be careful. So I had little areas. When I had it on the frame, I keep a big stack of safety pins, good size safety pins. And every time I see a mistake or like a seam that's popped open a little bit, I'll put a safety pin to mark it. Because if you don't, you will never find it again. So here, let me show you. So here is a section. I did leaves for the quilting because I wanted it to be a little more masculine. Now, this quilt was so big that I think I have my long arm frame set up at 8 feet, or maybe it's 10 feet, but not the full 12. And so I couldn't get all the way to the edge. So I have some choices to make. I can put just this side, put, a couple feet back on and try to do it. Or if I think I can handle it with my domestic, then finish the edge with my domestic. But one side, when you have a long arm on a frame, it only lets you go so close to the outside edge. And then the tray that the machine sits on that moves easily bumps into the frame. So that is a problem. Now this side, I was able to get it done. And I just did, he didn't want it too densely quilted, so I just did a large viney leaf. And then, oops, guess what? I just saw what I use these. How am I going to get that out? Let me mark this. So I know to come back, because you'll, quilt this big. I use these. Where are they? I know I saw them a moment ago. I use the tack gun to put see these little red tacks? I use a tack gun to attach my quilt to the long arm frame. There are these pieces of fabric about a foot deep and as long as the thing. And so I use a tack gun to attach the fabrics to it. One of them is stuck inside. I don't know how I'm going to get that out, but I'll be very careful. And I think what I'll do is take a large needle and kind of try to open the weave a little bit and then stick some very fine tweezers in and pluck that out. I think I've shown you that if you get a dark thread underneath the white and it shows, you carefully take a large pin. And what's really good is to use the sewing machine needles, because they're sturdy and large and have a good place to hold on to, and just kind of gently open the weave and then take the tip of it and coax that little thread, dark thread, out. But anyway, what I did for the indigo, blocks was just stitch in the ditch around them. And that way it gives a little place for your eye to rest, and it lets the indigo come towards you. So let me show you the back of this, because sometimes it's easier to see the quilting from the back. Okay. Here is the back of it. Hopefully you can see it. But I really did I enjoyed very much doing the big long leaf thing. And there was so much white. It was like, what do I quilt it with? And I like just doing the stitch in the ditch around the indigo. So I probably had 15 safety pins at different areas. I'm going to, while you're here with me, okay, I'm going to show you, and I might not be able to get it done today, but I'm going to at least show you what do you do if, like me, you find Do you see, whoops, okay. Do you see that red tack under that fabric? So I'm going to get the sewing machine needle. Let me put my glasses on. What do you do if you find something in the quilt fabric? So first thing I do is I take the needle and kind of try to coax open the weave. Carefully, you don't want to tear it. You just kind of want to coax open the weave. Then I'm going to take in that hole that I coaxed open. See how I'm just stretching it? Trying not to tear it. Then I'm going to try to coax up. Because I don't want to cut. I could always cut and sew back. Now I'm starting to see what direction it's in. I'm going to try to coax open the weave up here. And then let me see if I can get the tip end of, almost got the tip end out. See it coming through? There it is. Okay. Now, let me grab my hemostats. Okay, and I'm going to latch onto this. Pretend it's a splinter and you're coaxing it out to try. Here you go. See? Once you just coax open the weave of the fabric, and then you can kind of push it out. There we go. So there is that end of that little tack. But now there looks like there's another one in there too. Sometimes when I'm quilting these quilts and the fabric is a little loose, I will pull it taut. Okay, so now I just taught you how to take something out of a quilt. Look at these, 2 of the tacks. And I know what happened when I was trying to, now you look and you say, wow, look at that. I'm going to just wet it a little bit. I'm going to wet it like this, and then I'm going to run my hand every which way, pull the fabric, and get that fabric. Oh, this is, you know what this is? This is part of the stuffing. So I ended up pulling out a little bit of the stuffing. Clip the stuffing off, and there you go. Now you can't even tell. So that's how you get, and that is a tricky one because that was a big object to get out. But now you know, what do I do? And you would do the same thing if you found a dark blue thread under the fabric. But one of the reasons I wouldn't put this in a show is because from the back, you see the blue indigo through the white. You see that? But anyway, but that was fun. I love when things like that happen. And then I can show you, what would you do if you find something like that stuck in your quilt? So wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so here it is. And here's my indigo. Now, what I was doing until 3 in the morning is cutting threads off the back, where sometimes I would travel with the machine. Oh, here is another thing, okay? And what this is where I was quilting this and I got offline. See that? So I look for places. What I do when I get off the line, I'll come back and get back on the line. And then I know that when I sit down later, I will take out the extra line that's not needed, that's in the wrong place, like this. And then over here, I went offline again. And so let me then get this part out. But always put the correction in, even if you're going to wait until later to take it out. But put your correction in. Now let me see if I can find one of my safety pins. Whoa, sorry about that. It was awfully close to the camera. Let me see if I can find one of my safety pins. All right, here we go. Now, let me get a needle and some white thread, and I'm going to show you how I'm fixing this. Now, the best thing to do, let me bring this up for a moment. The best thing to do is to not have the to not let the seams open. That's the best thing to do. But even somebody like me who's been sewing since the dark ages occasionally has a problem with this. So let me get a needle and thread real quick, and I'll show you how I'm going to fix it. Now, it's not the prettiest way to fix it, and it's not going to look perfect. This is why I'm not the kind of person, I'm not the kind of gal who can enter quilts into a quilt show. Oh, thank you. Sometimes I tell you what, I feel all of these 66 years. Yesterday when we went to the band competition, we had to walk up this steep driveway. Oh my gosh, I have been exercising. I'm really proud of that. But I've been working on my elliptical trainer because my energy level was really down low. And let me trim. Hold on one second. Let me find my sharp little scissors here. I wonder what I did with them. Hopefully, oh, there they are. Sometimes I find out when they fall on my foot. But I realize I have to keep exercising because it was hard to walk up that steep hill to get to the competition. But I had to see my grandbaby, so I kept going even though it was killing me. All right. Here we go. All right. So hopefully you know all kinds of things, wrapping the thread around the needle and then pulling it to make your knot at the very end. Who is here? You saw, Alberta Conti. Hello. Oh, I'm glad you saw that. Dolores, hi. Oh, Asthma. Honey, I'm so sorry, but glad to see you. And then Pat. Oh, Pat, that's wonderful. Got a new grandbaby. Oh, getting ready to be born. Okay, so where now? Let me find that mistake again. Today is learning what to do when you make a boo-boo. Here it is. Now, this is a big one. This is a big one. So, all right. So let me bring you back down. Well, Pat, you've got to let us know so we can celebrate with you, sweetheart. Okay. All right. Oh, come on. This thing is wanting to give me a little bit of a fit here. Please hold. Yay. See, when I ask it nicely, it holds. All right. So I've got my needle and thread. And what I've got here, when I was quilting this, I noticed that this had pulled loose, so I put a safety pin there. Because that always tells me there's something there to be careful, to come back and pay attention to. Look right there. You see how that? And you can see right here where it was sewn, but it was too close to the edge. Okay, I'm going to bring you down here a little more. All right. So what I do is I sit here and I try to tuck the raw edge under, because you've got to protect those little raw edge threads. And so I tuck it back into place, and I do my stitching on the folded piece of the white. And you see how this time I went into the white. I didn't just try to hide it, because there's enough quilting around that it's going to kind of mask it for you. Oh, good, sweetie. Jericho, wow. Oh, 3 weeks early. Yeah, but good to get that baby out where they're both safer. Okay, so this is a nice edge. It's the folded over, has a seam allowance. So what I'm going to do is tuck in the blue, and then I'm going to come. What I know, this is going to be a bedspread. This is going to be in and out of the washing machine many times during its life. So I have got to make sure that this holds together really, really well. So here I go. I'm actually sewing upside down. Hold on a second. Let me try this again. I need to sew in a way that I can feel comfortable. Okay, let me tuck the knot in. There we go. Okay, the knot is tucked in. Tuck the tail of the thread. Keep this blue tucked under. Keep your fingernail there to hold that fabric in place, because you don't want to just sew along the edge of the blue. You want to come in 1/8 of an inch if you can. And you're going to use tiny, tiny stitches. So I grab a hunk like this, see? And then I go into the white fabric. The white fabric's nice and sturdy. It's the blue that's on the edge. And like I told you, some of these white stitches are going to show on the blue. But honestly, once I'm done, it won't even matter. Now, I didn't start quite early enough. I can see under here. So what I'm going to do is come down, and I'm going to come back and start earlier. You want to get well ahead of where the fabric started to come loose. So, and make sure you keep that blue tucked under, because you don't want it fraying. So, but main thing is take a nip of that blue well away from the edge, okay? And just do these tiny little, I don't know if you'd call them a slip stitch or what, but you see how you tuck it in, and you make a tight stitch, because you don't want any more of the white to show where the blue is than you have to. But keep it tucked under. That's the key. This is not for prettiness. This is to make sure that never opens up again when it's being washed or when it's being well loved. So I just keep coming along. And this is kind of crimping it a little bit. It might not lay as flat, but you know what? Once I wash a quilt, you know how a quilt does anyway, it won't be seen. So last night, this is what I was doing. I was coming along everywhere a seam opened up or didn't look secure enough. And what in the world? This silly thread. Hold on. The end of the thread kind of got a little knot. So, all right. So I'm making sure it's tucked under. And you see what tiny stitches I'm taking, because I don't want to ever see this again. Now that knot is giving me trouble, but I don't know how to get it out. All right. So I'm just going to continue down this way. Down. Making sure I keep that blue tucked under really well. Now see, you can really see that stitch right there. But when I take this next one and I pull it snug, then you won't see that so much. See how it disappears? So yeah, you can kind of see that this wasn't the perfect edge. But in the big scheme of things, when you don't have your eyeball within, an inch or two of it, I don't think you'll pay attention. And the main thing is to have it be a sturdy quilt so it can be loved for a long, long time. You see, I constantly push that needle along to make sure that edge is in. All right, so I'm almost at the end, and then I'm going to show you one other thing that I do to protect this quilt. Because what the problem is you had a frayed edge too close to the seam allowance, and it popped open. So, okay, I'm up at the top of this, put one more stitch, then I make a knot. I make actually 2 knots right down near the end, but not right up against the fabric. Then I push my needle under the white, pull it up 1/4 of an inch away, and pop the knot in the space. I pulled it until I felt the knot go under that fabric. So there is the repair. And like I said, it's not perfect, but it will be sturdy. And fabric is so, fabric stretches and bends and moves. So it, after it's washed and dried, you won't even notice. So now what I like to do is take what I call fray check and come right here, right along here. Whoops, this might be, I think my fray check might be stopped up a little. Yeah, if your fray check stops up, just put a needle in the tube, open it back up, wipe the fray check off the needle before you put it in your pin cushion. Otherwise, you might not get it out anymore. Then put a fine line of fray check right where you repaired it. That will bond the fibers together. So there's not much of a chance that will come back open. What do you think? All right. But as you can see, when I'm busy quilting, I don't trim all the threads off. And here's another case where I kind of jumped out of the ditch here. So I'll come along. This is what I do when I finish a quilt, is I take a few hours to go over it and make sure I have wayward stitches out. Like right here, I sewed again because I realized that I got up onto the blue. So I can just come along here. Now, understand that when you take these threads off the front, there are threads underneath that also need to come out. So, just wanted to show you that. All right, so that's what I do. Now what I'm going to show you real quick is how do you put on the binding. So, and this is big. I would have liked to have put the binding on while it was still on the frame to start the binding, but the problem is it was too big for the frame. Now, I cannot put the binding where I need to finish the border, but here is all of my binding that we made. If you remember, we made this, a while back. And I'm going to get a neutral thread because this is not, well, no, let me get a darker thread because you know what? It will show a little bit, but let me get a darker thread, put it on here. Now, I don't use, because I'm too cheap to buy all the different color threads, I just use light and dark neutrals. I could use a black, but that to me is a little severe. So, okay. Whoops, let me get my needle threaded. All right. So now, I usually take and put this over my shoulder so that it kind of rolls around on the floor and stays out of my way. But since I'm not going to do the whole thing, I'm just going to do a part to show you. I'm going to I'll sit it over here and have plenty unwound. All right, so here we go. So what you do is I use a 2.5-inch binding because I don't like to have to fiddle with it too much. You know, that's a scientific term too, fiddle with it. But so what I do is make sure that my quilt is at the edge here. Okay. Then put the binding, because see, this is folded. Here are the two raw edges. All right. Boy, this quilt is heavy. Heavy, heavy, heavy. All right, so I put it at the edge of the quilt, making sure that the whole edge is nice and smooth. Then I come in at 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to drop my stitches down just a little bit from 2.4 to 2.0, just because this quilt is heavy and I want to make sure that I get good solid stitches. So as I said, here are the raw edges of the binding where it's, ironed on the fold. You fold it in half and iron it. So I'm putting all raw edges together. And I just make sure I come right in, right at 1/4 of an inch. Let me make sure. Good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I turn a corner. How do we do those mitered corners with the binding? It's really not that hard, I promise. All right, so making sure that everything lays flat, because like if the backing was folded over, you'd have a mess. So making sure that everything's laying flat, come and sew in 1/4 of an inch. Now, when I come to the end, I'm not going to just finish off here, and I'm not going to stop 1/4 of an inch back. I'm going to pivot at 1/4 of an inch from this edge, pivot and go off at an angle. That's a good little trick I learned to help you make a very pretty mitered edge. So let me show you when I get to about 1/4 of an inch from the end, then I'm going to go off at an angle. Okay? Let me show you that. See how I went off at an angle? Now what I'm going to do to go around the corner is I'm going to fold this binding back on itself and match it with the edge here. Then I'm going to fold it, keeping that stuff at the corner, fold it down this way. Now, what that's going to do, and then I'm going to give it just a little bit of extra. Now what I'm going to do is carefully pull up this folded part here. Doing that fold was just to show me where I needed. Whoops, this camera, it's a little dark here. I want you to be able to see. Let me turn, I don't know if my extra light will help or hurt, but okay. So let me show you that. Okay, so I've come to the corner again. I want to get as much light in on this as I possibly can. All right, I'll push it up this way, and that way you'll see better. So I've gone off the edge. What I do then, just to make sure I've got enough fabric to do the miter, is I fold it back on itself. Then I bring it and fold it down like this so you can see the miter. You can see that, okay? Sometimes I'll give it just 1/8 of an inch more to make sure I have enough room. Then I carefully come and pull out the underneath, pull it loose. Okay, now I can come back under and stitch it, starting again at the end, at the 1/4 inch. Okay, and come in and start down the other side. Let me come down just a little bit farther before I stop. This is how you sew on a binding. Now, if you had a fancy edge, you would have to have bias binding. And one day I will show you how to do bias binding. Okay, I'm going to quit there. Cut my thread. Now, let's go back and look at this corner. Whoops. Boy, my camera is in the dark spot. Okay. All right. So here I have, see this excess fabric? That's going to help me make the miter. So what I do, and sometimes people will trim off this little edge. If it helps, then do that. But what I do is you fold over this side, kind of give it a finger press, fold over this side, give it a finger press, and when it comes to the corner, decide which way you want that miter folded, and both the front and the back get folded the same way. And so the back, you do like that. Here, okay, here, there is your mitered corner with your binding, right like that. And see, then this, whoops, this needs to go the same. I try to keep the fold going the same direction. So when you're now hand sewing this on, okay, you come up and you're doing tiny, whoops, let me try it again, tiny invisible stitches. You're coming up like this. Well, in fact, let me show you. Since I still have this needle threaded. Now, of course, I would use a dark blue thread to put this binding on. That's when I do try to match the threads. And let me show you the oops. I need to get my beeswax. It must be dry outside now because I notice my threads are acting up. All right. The reason I got a darker thread is if you were to pull, try to pull on this binding, you could barely see the little stitches in there. But with that dark neutral, it's a good match. So you don't have to have blue. But I would use it for this, okay, because this is going to show. But now I'm going to show you how do I sew this mitered corner here. Threads everywhere. Okay. So I'm going to start, I'll start here so we can get to that corner. And I take and bury the needle up here within the seam allowance. I don't want to have to worry about my knot. Bury my knot. All right. So now I put the blue just covering the stitching line that stitched it on, and I come and I grab a little bit of fabric from the back and come grab just a little bite of the binding on the front. And so I go underneath. I call it like a fish. Goes under, swims, then comes up and gets a breath of air or takes a bite of the fabric. And now you will see little white lines with this because obviously I'm using the wrong color thread to bind it. But I come up, up to the corner. You decide what size stitches. Usually I make them about 1/4 inch long because it takes a long time to bind a quilt. I love it, but it takes a long time. Okay, so coming up here. And you want these stitches to be as invisible as possible. Now, what I'm doing is telling you, teaching you the method if you were entering your quilt in a quilt contest. If this is a quilt for grandbaby that's going to, spit up on it, then obviously you don't have to take all this care. But this, I'm teaching you the perfect right way so that you know that, and then you adjust it as you wish. All right, so now I'm up to that corner. I've decided that my front miter is going this direction. So I want the back miter to do the same. So I'm going to tuck it under like this, and that way the front and the back are doing the same thing. Now, if you want to, you can do it the opposite way. I just feel like sometimes this gets a little difficult for the fabric, but you could do it that way. And in fact, some people might say, well, it stretches out the bulk. I don't know. But I just have my miters going the same direction. Now, then I come up with the pin. So I've got the miter folded. I come up here and I firmly give a nice firm stitch right in the corner of this miter. And then while I'm here, I'm going to go up the miter. If you enter a quilt in a show, you have to have your miters sewn shut. Okay. And it's probably a good idea. It keeps them from ever popping out. Now, of course, I would use dark blue or black thread. And so now the back miter is sewn shut. Then what I would do is just run the needle through to the front and make sure the front miter looks nice and good. Get it lined up pretty. Sometimes I have to reach, sometimes I have to reach in here and pull out a little more fabric to make the miter line up just right. And then I would come and on the front stitch the miter down like this. Stitch it down. Okay, now let's say you've done all the stitching down of the front miter. Then what I would do once you've done the stitching down of the front miter is I just run the needle back through, come out near the back seam allowance like this, and then fold down the binding again, fold it into place. Oops, I didn't take a big enough miter, but fold it in. Your needle has come back, and just start and do the binding all the way down. So just wanted to show you, make sure you have your mitered corners stitched down. Now I'm going to take this all out and do it again, and when I'm not doing it on camera, I'll use a dark thread and make sure I get the miter just right. So anyway, all right, so that's how you do it. And I will finish getting all the binding on, and then I have those little clips, and you can even get hair clips if you don't. Sometimes those other clips are expensive, but you can just get hair clips and clip your binding and have a little container, and as you get to it, then just take it off, put it back in its little container, and around you go. All right. And I'm sorry for the camera is acting, the camera mount needs to be adjusted. So I've got to get Mark to come in here and do a little more fine adjusting of this. Because, you know, the arm that I use for the camera is for lamp. We kind of make this stuff up as we go. But anyway, so this is what the binding will look like once it's on. I think it'll give it a nice finished look. And this is for another day. All right, I'll put this out of the way for now. Oh, goodness gracious. This is such a big... No wonder I love making wall hanging. This is a lot to do. Let me get out my brown paper. All right. Okay. Now that I've wrestled the quilt, I'm going to turn off my sewing machine light and turn off my sewing machine. All righty. That was exhausting. That is why I have a long arm. I could not handle trying to maneuver a quilt through the domestic. Any of you that do, you have my utmost respect. That's hard work. All right, so over here, here are today's pumpkins. And you remember this one that I did last week that I need to paint and kind of refine it so it really looks good, but I will get there. It's still half unpainted. All right. So I went ahead and got my roll of brown paper to work on this week's pumpkins. And like I showed you that flour last week, this is the flour. It's getting a wee bit thick, so I might have to thin it just a little. But it's got 2 to 4 ounces of white glue. It's got a 1.5 cups of flour and at least a 1.5 cups of water, okay? And I just started these, I guess, about 1 o'clock today, and I had a fan going on them while I was working on them. You notice the bottom is not done. And that's something I made a mistake with the first one. And what you do is you do the top, and then you get a container, and you set it upside. Once the top is dry, then you set it in a container and then start working on the bottom. And I do not want to take out, at some point you can take out all the things you used to stuff it, but you don't want to do that until your sides are pretty firm, because they will collapse in if you just pull out. If you pull out that stuffing and the bags and stuff too soon. And you can see where I use the yarn to make the indentations. So I'm not going to do a lot because this is really messy. I've got Miss Bonnie's towel handy for me. And here is, I've got the brown paper that I like using. I really do like using this brown paper too. And so I'm going to do some cuts. I'm going to get ready and sneeze. Pardon me. But, okay. So now I'm just going to cut strips of this paper. You can tear them, but I think I prefer to have them more straight cut. And I make some wider, some narrower, and I'll show you why that is. The wider ones actually help bridge the gap in the pumpkin creases. So, see, we go from quilting to crafting. We do a little bit of everything here, because that's kind of how life is, isn't it? A little bit of everything. All right. So, now, whoops. Oh, well, I dropped that one. Let me grab another one. All right. So what I've got, I wanted to show you, if you want to try to make a very smooth finish on your pumpkin, you can do your last thing with a paper towel. But I'm not sure I really like it. I think I like the rugged paper look, but I just wanted to show you you could do it. Now, one thing that I did use a paper towel that's really good is use a paper towel to form the stem, because that way you can make it look gnarly and you can shape it much easier. So just take a paper towel and just soak it in the flour mixture and then mold it on. Use it, mold it on to the shape you want. All right, I'm going to come up a little bit up like this. All right. I'm going to put this towel here too. The good thing about getting this flour mix on you is that it washes out pretty easily. Now whoops. This is a problem. I don't know how to adjust the camera, but what I'm doing is I'm dipping the paper into the flour mixture. And since this is a brown paper, and I rub the excess off, let me see. I better come back down a little bit more. Okay, and don't get it on your laptop. Oops, come back. Okay, so now just take and lay this on like this. It's very messy, but if you get into it, then you'll enjoy it. But you dip the paper into the flour mixture. I thought of trying to get a pastry brush and trying to brush it on, but honestly, the best way is just use your hands, because that way you can feel when the paper softens enough that it'll be moldable. Okay. Now let me go this direction, get another piece. And some of these are too long, so I'll just tear in half. And, I just dip it in like this, run my fingers down. But you will feel when the paper becomes kind of hydrated, wet, and it gets pliable. And the reason I love this brown paper, so you can use brown paper bags, whatever. The reason I like it is because it's strong, but will be pliable. If you were to use newsprint, when it gets wet, it pretty much will tear on you. But use whatever you have. And I just wanted to tell you too, it makes me so happy to be using leftover stuff that I didn't have to go out and buy. So, we all have brown paper bags or paper that they use. Oh, hi. Oh, hi, sweetheart. All right, hon. Take good care. It's so good seeing you, sweetie. So anyway, but I love the fact that these were grocery bags, leftover stuffing that made the form. I love that brown paper I already had. And if you want, you could just use brown paper bags you've gotten from the grocery store or wherever, and then just flour and white glue. And you're making something that didn't have to be manufactured and traveled and trucked in. And plus, to buy a pumpkin, I price these, to buy a foam pumpkin, which they're pretty, I'll give them that. But this size would be $29. I'm sorry, that's a lot of money. And the more practice I get with this, with painting it and forming it, the more realistic it's going to look. So here I come in with another, And what I'm doing right now is connecting the bottom of this to the top that's already dry. Upstairs, when I was working on this, knowing that I was starting so late, I had a fan going, blowing right on it. And that really helps dry it. You want to make sure you get these dry. Don't let them sit too long, and don't let them sit on a flat surface and expect them to dry. You have to have some kind of like rack, like a baking cooling rack, something like that to get it off. Let air get all the way around. You don't want this stuff to mold on you. So I'm going to just do a couple more pieces, and then we're going to move on to other things. But I thought I would let you see what this really entails. And yes, I don't like getting this goop on my hands, but I have to be honest, it's kind of a fun process. And it reminds me of sculpting, so it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would at first. Okay, so just one more piece, and then, but it kind of becomes addictive. I'm wondering how. The good thing about artificial pumpkins is you'll have them forever. So, okay, so here I go. I just couldn't quite, this year it was like, no, can't quite justify buying. I thought, I'll buy them one a year. But I'm going to see how these do. I think I'm going to really want to seal them to help give them strength and to keep them from being eaten by bugs. And oops, I've got to add one more piece. Sorry about this, guys. But I want to make sure when there we go. Let me just clean up my hands. The one thing I found is it's kind of hard to wash your hands. So what I do is grab a dishcloth out of the sink and help use it to wash. That worked pretty good. So let me move all of this out of the way and clean up. Okay. My hands are probably going to stiffen up since I'm not actually washing them. I'm just drying them with a towel. Oh, I did get a little bit of this on the laptop, but I'll get it. Anyway, hopefully you won't mind that I've got this on my hands. But I wanted to show you real quick now. See, now the whole bottom has been covered up. Pretty easy. All right. So I think it's going to be, this I think is going to be my prettiest pumpkin. I really do. I feel like this is going to be my best one. And I'll probably keep adding layers until I'm sure it's going to be pretty solid. But yeah, I got this brush out thinking I would keep my hands nice and clean. Well, so much for that. And then when I finish, I will use acrylic paints, and then I'm going to use a sealer. And here I want to make these dark lines a little less noticeable, try to make it a little bit more realistic, and then I'll put my sealer on it. But I like them. So that is a good thing. And here's this cuter little one. This is the paper bag thing that we made last week, and I put a piece of masking tape around it to keep it from spreading out, and really, really cute. So anyway, that is that for the pumpkins, and now you've actually seen somebody, and I love the fact that I just used flour and white glue that I had here. I didn't go buy expensive paper mache material. You don't really need to. So anyway, my hands still have flour on them, but that's okay. It's an organic product. All righty, so let's bring up, and we've got some pictures to show you. I'm very lucky that this week some very kind people sent in new photos. So, oh, and don't forget, we finished up our self-portrait this past week. And then, and if you want, I'll bring it closer before we leave and show you, just so you can go, what was that about? And we finished our self-portrait. And so this coming up week, guess what? We're going to be making art dolls. So excited about this. So I've been thinking a lot since I talked about us making art dolls and thought about, what kind of things could you use? Because at first I thought, well, just use a nice muslin. And let me pull out a piece of muslin. And there's all different kinds and different weights of muslin. But muslin is a wonderful, wonderful material. And I would use a muslin that's not too thick, but that has a high thread count. The one thing I thought about is, how do you make facial features without having creases in the fabric? And you don't mind a little bit of a crease around the nose. But the more I thought about making these art dolls, the more I wanted the faces to just capture you. Big eyes, painting the eyes and the makeup and all of that. And I even looked into buying, what if I bought eyes? But that just feels like, no, I think I want to make my own eyes. And I'm thinking of using buttons with a shank. Let me see if I happen to have any nearby. Well, here are some that I made. Now, I didn't even think about this. I could take polymer clay and make my own eyes. But I want to show you what a button with a shank is. This is a polymer clay button that I dropped that I made myself. There's the shank. And see there? And that is how you sew it on. But it's got a nice oval eye quality. And so I thought, what if I took like black plastic shank buttons and then painted them to look like the eyes? And so that's a possibility. But right now I'm in the thinking stage where, as I load the dishwasher, I'm thinking, how do I do this? How do I do this? So I like the idea of the muslin for the feet, the legs, the body. But what do you do to get a face that is very realistic? Well, you can always use different kinds of clay. And I'm probably going to do that. I'm going to make a doll head out of clay and then make one out of fabric. But I thought, what can you use that has some stretch that'll mold? Now, you can go on most fabric sites and buy fabric that you use to make dolls. And I actually looked up some at Fabric Warehouse. It was only $5.99, but it was $7.99 to ship it. You know how I am. I'm very, very cheap. So I started looking around the house to see what I had. I said, I want something that's flesh colored, that has some stretch to it. Well, guess what? Remember the old Ace bandages? This might be perfect. And we don't use Ace bandages anymore. I can't remember the last time I used an Ace bandage. So this is the right color. It would have some stretch and give. So that is a possibility. Now, they're not very wide, so you'd probably have to kind of sew it together, like sew two strips together, whatever. But it's a possibility. Then I looked in my lingerie drawer and found some of these tummy holder inners. And I went, ooh, okay, that would work. Now, understand, depending on your tan or your ethnic background, your color complexion of your doll may vary, but hopefully you've got things already that you bought to match your skin color. But this would work really, really good. And am I ever going to wear this again? I doubt it. So I only wore it once under protest. Then I thought, hey, how many of us have little stockings? People don't wear them anymore. And especially the part that's supposed to hold them, their knee highs. So I thought, look at your old stocking supply and see what you have. I've got a box here full of, I haven't worn them in years. So that's a possibility. And then here is a new pack of knee highs, comfort top. Let me see if I can open this. I don't know when I bought this, but I have not used this in ages. So I thought instead of spending, $15 to buy some fabric and have it shipped to you, I even found some doll fabric on Amazon. But look at these. Look at this. And it's got that comfort top again. And you could even do a couple layers of this, stuff it, nice and firm with stuffing, and then get your flesh-colored thread. And sometimes I would use a carpet weight thread if you have it, or upholstery weight thread, and a long needle. And so we're going to work on how do I turn this into a sculpture. And since those are a little pale, I think they'd be perfect because, if I'm going to wear these, I'm going to try to make my legs look tanned, right? So, okay. So I just wanted to tell you, these are some of the things that I thought. Let's be creative and let's use what we have around the house. All right. And I'm hoping you have a bag of stuffing. You're going to need more than you thought. I would say at least a 1 pound bag of stuffing. Or if you have scraps of batting, you can use those. Stuffing's preferable because it'll give a smoother stuffed look. When I make my pen cushions, I'll use scraps of cotton batting in, no problem. But for this, I'm going to use real, honest-to-goodness stuffing. All right, so that is that. I can't wait. Make sure you have picked up some skewers, chopsticks, things like that to help us do the stuffing. The thread you're going to want to sew with a tiny little stitch because you're going to put some pressure on that fabric to stuff it. So I'm just real excited. I hope you're looking online at handmade art dolls. Do a search for handmade art dolls. And I think that'll help give you some ideas for what you want to do. All right. Here is my crochet. And I'm really loving this chenille yarn. It is so, so soft. I'm loving my little stitch markers. It shows me where the ribbing is down this end. And then when I have to count, like I'm doing extra ribbon for the edge of the hood, I can mark that. Then when I'm doing the stitches in between the ribbing, I can put markers for that too. So this is going to be the pocket you put your hand in, and it's ribbed. And so we're going to be stitching it back up there. Then you can stick your hand in like this. Then this up, and so that's the scarf part. Then here is going to be the hood. I always talk about my big head. I had to make the hood longer because since I want to be able to put my hands in the pockets, that's what I thought was so cool about this. It's going to leave your neck open to the cold because normally you would take and put a hood and then throw it over each shoulder. So what I'm going to do is I have some wooden buttons I've had for ages. Oh, I don't, but you can get very large buttons. Over here somewhere, there they are. Hold on. I got it. I've got it. I've got these big, beautiful buttons and nice wooden buttons. And I'm going to put a button so that I can just attach it here. Then it comes down. I put my hands in it. So I had to make the hood larger. Yes, I do have a big head. So anyway, but now it's just a matter of getting the hood part thick enough to sew the pieces together. So I just wanted to say you can teach a very old dog a new trick. And this is my first ever pattern that I've followed, and I've had a blast with it. And if you're like me and you kind of know how to do a little bit of crochet and you just always wing it, try a pattern. The pattern was only like $3.75. And it is from Winding Road Crochet. It's called the Woodland Hooded Scarf. And this pattern designer also has a YouTube video to show you each step of the way. So that has been so much fun. I got my absentee ballot in the mail. I'm very excited. I've got to vote this year. I don't want us to lose any more rights and regain a couple we did lose. Oh my goodness. The one problem about doing paper mache is the flour gets dusty once it dries and it goes everywhere. But anyway, let's now go see your photos. And I have to be honest, I didn't take time to really, I'm hoping I try to download them as soon as you send them to me. But hold on, I want to show you something. Okay, hold on. I tried filming my grandson at his band competition. I'm looking up there. Couldn't find my mouse. But let me see if I can bring it up. I'm hoping it worked, but I'm so excited. Okay. Oh, Mark has some pictures he sent too. Yay. Oh, Mark unfortunately sent me pictures where a branch pierced the top of our camper, and he had to repair that today. Okay. All right, now let's see. Here we go. Sorry about this. I'm a little discombobbled today. Oh, please, I hope I don't see a movie on here, but I will, let's see. Maybe it's on here. It would be so nice if I learned how to use all of this modern technology, but I'm a Deb. I don't know what to say. Okay. Now. No. Well, I should have made sure I knew how to bring up the movie because I don't know how to do it. Pooh. I thought as long as I went to photos, it would show me what to do. All right. I think I'm going to need... Oh, here. Maybe it's in here. Let's see. No, I'm not trying to make calls. All right. Well, maybe I will show you next week. All right, so let's now see some pictures. Here we go. Right. And I have some really rough pictures from being at the competition. So let me see. That barely caught them out on the field. Oh boy. I told you these were rough. But my grandson is, I think, right there. So I'm so proud of him. Look at that band. And they won grand champion for the whole competition. So proud. Love it. And I love band competitions. It's such a good thing for kids to be involved in because you have to learn to work as a group. That was my hand. Okay. Well, I got good pictures of my hand, my thumb. Here we go. Here's another picture of them. So they are going to be doing they're going to have quite a season coming up. Oh, there's the back of my daughter's head. Her hair was curled so nicely. All right, so I think that's it for the band, all that I could show you today. I apologize. Now, let's go see your photos because they're definitely more professional. All right, here we go. Here we are. I love seeing these photos. Oh, you just don't know. And I think Alexa sent us a new one. Thank you, Miss Alexa. She sent us 2 new ones. Here is a new figure that she's working on. And I don't know if this is an existing one or one that she invents because she designs her own. She's so talented. Look at that beautiful, beautiful embroidery. And evidently she made this wonderful pendant. Isn't that lovely? So we just love Alexis. We love her work. Thank you, hon, for sending the new pictures. We love them. All right. And Miss B. And in this, I've got a picture of the Queen. What an amazing, amazing woman. And what a long and dignified and graceful life she had. Amazing woman. All right, and then here is a work that Bee's been working on, and I wouldn't be surprised if she did some painting on that, but she's taking strips of fabric and experimenting with making her own landscape. That is lovely. Can't wait to see how that finishes. All right. Now, Miss Betty, let's see. Oh, yes. This will be our goodbye to her wonderful, wonderful great blue heron. And don't forget, I love how she embellished the shoreline with shells and all snippets of thread to look like different kinds of water and seaweed and all of that. Wonderful job of embellishment. And I hope the class you taught went really well. All right, Miss Bonnie is working on a surcoat, and we would love to hear how that's working out for her. Very, very nice. Okay, let's see. Charlene Piper. This is our last view of her amazing, come back up, her amazing lighthouse. And remember, she used glitter and tulle or organza for that beam of light. Isn't that just wonderful? Great use of fabrics, great use of embellishment. All right, now let's see. Danielle, we have a new member from France who has sent some of her work that we love. Look at this collage landscape I love the silhouette creatures and tree. And then look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Mm. Lots of wonderful stitching in that. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? And I love the lace edging that frames the work. Amazing. Love it, love it. Look at this hummingbird. Oh my goodness. Fantastic. And look at those trumpet flowers. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And look at this. She's done a portrait quilt. That is wonderful. I really want to try it again. I know. And then this is Danielle herself with her grand dog. Isn't he wonderful? Love that pup. Thank you, Danielle. Or should I say, merci, Danielle. I don't know if I have much to show you. Let me see. I'm trying to remember if I put a few things in. Oh, this one. So cute. Look at this. This is a 1930s cartoon for Halloween. I thought that was so cute. I just had to show you. All right. And let me think. I don't think I have. Nope. I think I'm done with that. All right. So I'm sorry I didn't have more to show you from the grandsons. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you. Hold on just 1 second. I wanted to show you the art doll. Let me see. Where did I put the art doll faces? Here we are. I make folders for everything because if I don't, I will totally lose it. So look at this art doll. It is beautiful. Look at these. And I want us to be able to try to get as much definition as we can. Look at that. Soft sculpture is a lot of fun. It looks like that is flax used for hair. Also, anyone who's actually working on a doll with me, you can even do a paper mache face, all kinds. But anybody who would like some wool roving for hair to fashion a wig for their doll, I will mail you some. There's just so many possibilities. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? And they can be as simple as you want or as complex as you think you can manage. And you know what? Now that is a soft sculpture face right there too. But we'll figure out how to do all of this together. I won't leave you high and dry. By this coming up Thursday, I plan to have 2 different kind of faces made for you. One with the self-dry paper clay and one with soft sculpture. Oh, aren't they wonderful? These are going to be a lot of fun. Look at this. Isn't that wonderful? You could make a skirt out of pine straw. Look at the hair. Isn't that gorgeous? So it's going to be fun decorating, dressing these. What kind of costume do you want them to wear? Look at that. And don't be worried or afraid. Also, I'm going to see if I can find some heavy-duty wire, like out of Chinese food containers, or Mark might have some, so that I can actually make the arms posable. And it's very simple to do. It truly is. You just put that wire down. Twist ties maybe would work. I don't know if they're strong enough, but I would love to do an armature. And that just means to have a metal structure inside so that you can pose it. But I want these to be a lot of fun. Okay, so Debbie's quilts. I love, this is our last view of this lovely watercolor looking quilt. Then here is the last view of her pineapple quilt pattern. Man, this woman knows how to do curves now, let me tell you. She went on vacation, I think. I'm not sure where she said she saw this, but how cute is this? Love, love, love it, the Granny Squares. And thank you for Granny Square Ladies, because you got me back into crocheting. And what fun. Now look at her collage fall pillow, or I guess it's going to be a pillow. Isn't that just the cutest? So, there are so many things that you could do to celebrate fall. Easy and things you have right in your home. All right? So here is, is this the most beautifully painted? This is Diana B. And I just love her work. Sadly, these are going to have to go by the wayside for next week, but I know she'll send us some more. She's so talented. She's making a quilt for her husband. She said it's taken her a while, but she had 15 grandkids that she had to make quilts for. These are her Project Linus quilts, and I want to say something. This woman is so kind to put that kind of attention and detail in charity quilts. That is a beautiful heart. I can tell you that. Look at that. How wonderful. And then after we do our dolls, I would like to try to do some fabric painting like this, because she has really inspired me with this artwork. So it's fabric painting and then coming in with thread and doing thread sketching to accentuate the picture. Love it. Thank you, hon, for all that inspiration. Y'all are so talented, and it always inspires us. And here is our last view of Miss Jamie's rag quilt. Love it. Love, love, love it. Okay. Then Miss Jody. Oh, I am so proud of Miss Jody. She can do amazing things like this. Look at that. That's her Wicked Witch of the West quilt. And here is another shot of it. 6 colored fabrics for each hand and her broomstick. Then here is Miss Jody as an amazing baton twirler and leader of her age group. I'm so impressed. So impressed. Okay. And then here is Miss Jody and Terry at her last treatment, and she got to ring the bell of hope, and she got a Courage Award signed by all the nurses. So I just wanted to say that they are 2 heroes in my book, and thank you for fighting so hard, and you inspire us more than you'll ever know. How wonderful. So now, trying not to get emotional, it's just such a special thing, and we couldn't be more proud of her. Well, Miss Mary, besides having her self-portrait photo on our LiveStream marker. Oops, I don't want to show you that yet. Here is her fall mystery quilt that she did. Now I'll go back and show you. She turned it into a pillow. But look what she did with the center of it. How awesome is that? She put a tree and all the different color leaves. I'm very impressed. Very, very impressed. Way to go, Miss Mary. And I think she would probably tell you, well, she kind of made a mistake in the middle there and it kind of got crunched up. Oh, that to me is an excellent example of a design opportunity that she ran with. Way to go, hon. And then this is her Christmas placemat or wall quilt. All right, so now let me see where I'm going next. Melanie. Oh, Melanie and the cute dog. And I thought she might have sent me new pictures, but I'm not sure. She's so busy right now. And if she did send me new pictures, then I haven't downloaded them, and I apologize. But this is her Miss Willow she got as a birthday present from her amazing husband, and she is just in love. She loves that little puppy. The puppy is working out so well. Look at that cute little thing. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. But she is loving this puppy. The puppy is doing very well, taking to training very well, and it just made her very happy. And then here are her husband's placemats he did machine embroidery. Really impressed. And then here are her pot holders. And there's that beautiful, the last picture of her beautiful Willow. So I told her, share photos anytime. We love puppy photos. But I'm just so happy that she's having so much fun with that puppy. And then here's Miss Michelle. Oh, look at that wonderful quilt. And she turned that block the wrong way. But guess what? The rest is so beautiful. She can fix that. We know she can. That is a lovely quilt. And thank you for showing one of your oopses. Because you know what? Oopses help us all feel better because we all tend to make oopses. So I'm just going to show you a couple of these from Miss Nadine. I love her idea of her yarn holder. Look at this. Her work is just wonderful, and her photos are wonderful. Look, she even makes a sugar jar into a piece of art. Isn't that beautiful? And the sunset over her river. So just beautiful. Thank you, Miss Nadine. Oh, and here is one. She takes these photos. She has an artist eye. That's beautiful, hon. Okay, so now let's go see. And Miss Nazi, who did her fall mystery quilt as well. Excellent, excellent job. Love it. And I just love how when you do these quilts, Scrappy, they sparkle. And here is some pictures of the beautiful home of Miss Pat. Can't wait to see more. 2 bay windows. How nice is that? Wonderful. So we can't wait. We hope you're getting settled. I still owe you a pattern, and I will get that to you, I promise. I've got to find the email now. Here is Miss Polly and her gorgeous living room quilt. Oh my gosh, I just think it's so perfect with the color of her walls. She did an outstanding job. And then this is the Color Your World quilt that was a block of the month recently at the quilt show. There are her blocks that she's making. Wonderful job, Miss Polly. Okay, now what do we have? SJ. Let's see. Okay. Whoops, I thought, yep, here's the new one. There are two new ones. So this is a Quilt As You Go with Miss Lisa Capon, and then she has promised to teach me how to make this amazing crochet block. Isn't that beautiful? Here's another version of it. So I love the raised cross in the center. Just wonderful. Thank you, Miss SJ. And I'm sorry if anybody has sent pictures that didn't show up. It's my fault, and I apologize for that. But this week got away with me, I tell you. But anyway, I'm so excited about this coming up week because starting these art dolls, it's going to be so much fun. And this art doll is not for any grandchild. It's for me. It's not for a daughter. It is for me. So the last time I made dolls, we were dirt poor. My girls were 2 and 4 or 2 and 5, and we had no money for Christmas, and so I made them dolls, and that was special. It's funny that those things turn into wonderful memories. So let me see. I don't know why my chat has not been keeping up. Okay, so I'm just so thank you for everything. Thank you. Oh, and don't worry, Miss Mary. Be thinking about what you prefer to have for your doll, but I will be trying to work you through every step. And if you can send me pictures to my email and say, I need help figuring out how to get to this. Our time to, whoops, let me try that again. Our time to quilt at twc.com. So feel free to send me pictures of your work to that email, to be able to send me things to ask questions. Diana B is here. Yay. It's so nice to see all of you. Y'all are just a dear, dear group of people. Sculpted head, yes, because we're going to make our own art dolls. And I want to get the head right and the face right, but what I'm most looking forward to is making a costume. And I haven't even figured whether I want her to be a dancer, whether I want her, I don't know, a hobbit, or I haven't figured out yet. So right now I'm just so focused on how to get the face that I want to. But like I said, if you really do work on this with us and you would like some wool to fashion hair for your dog, I'll send it to you. So, okay, any other questions? And I will see if I can retrieve the movie. I thought I was taking a movie of the band, but I'm not sure I actually got it done. So, but hopefully we'll see. I will try to find it. So anyway, all right. Oh, I just tried to look one more time. I couldn't find it. Any questions, anybody? Anything you have to say? It was a very busy day yesterday, and I'm a little tired, I think, today. But I'll have my energy back this week, I promise. All right. Well, it was so wonderful to spend this time with you. And you know what? It's a nice, cloudy day. I think it's a good day to take a nap. And I deserve one. So take good care of yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me today. And I'll make sure I send an email to Miss Jody. Want to make sure I keep up with her because she's coming down the home stretch. Thank goodness. So, oh, I'll have to tell Mark. He's got a telescope. So, see Jupiter tonight. I like that idea. All right, sweeties. Y'all take good care. Surgeon appointment tomorrow. Good luck with that, hon. And let's get this thing done so we can have our Jody back all to ourselves. Not that we're selfish or anything, but we want to quilt with you some more. All right, everybody. Take good care. Have a good week. Do something just for you. I think I'm going to go rent that movie Where the Crawdads Sing. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but it struck my fancies. I'm going to rent it just for me. All right. Y'all take good care. We'll be thinking about you tomorrow, Miss Jody. Bye, y'all. Have a great week. Bye-bye. Take good care.